Hey guys, Peter Jordan with Sunrise Marine here on the Lost Angler channel, and what we're going to look at today is understanding Garmin Sonar, understanding the nomenclature. So when you look at it, you understand what you're looking at, understanding what's the right type of transducer and sonar for me, and understanding how to read it. So it's a lot to go through today. This is going to be a fairly long video. Hope you guys find it helpful. Hey guys, so today we're going to look at the Garmin website, and we're going to try to figure out how to look at it and figure out what we need for our marine products. So we're going to come in right here, and what we're going to look at today is going to be GPS, chart plotters, and fish finders. We're going to come to marine. You can come in here to fish finders, or chart plotters, excuse me. So a chart plotter is going to be a combination fish finder, sonar, and a GPS map system. You got numerous other things through here that you can go into greater detail with. We're going to look at the chart plotters. We're going to understand today how to read the nomenclature and what to look for in your inshore and nearshore fishing applications. So we're going to come on down. To my mind, the best things to look at are either the 76 series, and this is going to be used on most of our big boats, like our big World Cats, our big Cape Horns, our big Robalos, our big chaparrals. You can use them on your bass boat applications. There's a ton of cool features on them. One of the reasons I prefer those on the bigger boats is because it is a strict touchscreen unit. You can add certain things like a grid unit, or you can supplement them in any way you want to. But this is made to be a network unit. The 76 series is made to be where I can link multiple screens up, run an autopilot, weather, an EMA 2000, whole 9 yards, and it is a strict touch feature. Now, coming on down, at the 1042 and 1242 XSV, it'll give you nearly every single option that's available on the 76 series, except it's not touchscreen. I find this to be great when I'm looking at my inshore boats, my smaller boats, where I'm going to have a lot of movement when I'm running the boat, because operating a strict touchscreen when I am, running a boat at high speeds that's smaller is tough. And then if I want to add the two of them together, I can run the Echo Map Plus series. Now, this is an EMA 2000 network system. This is not, but this is phenomenal if I'm not going to add multiple screens, if I'm not going to add radar, if I'm not going to add autopilot, and I want a great GPS unit with really great sonar. The Echo Map Plus is a great way to go. We're going to look at the Echo Map Plus series, and we're going to kind of look at the nomenclature. Echo Map shows me that it is going to be, alright, so Echo Map means I'm going to have sonar and I'm also going to have GPS mapping. It's different from the GPS map systems that we talked about, which are NEMA 2000. The Plus means it's the new model that just came out. This is a 9.4 SV, okay, so the 9 means it's a 9-inch screen. The 4 means that it comes with the Blue Chart G2 preloaded. The SV means that the highest level of sonar is going to be side view. And then from down here, I can choose my different screen sizes. So let's take a look at this real quick. So a CV means it's going to be running clear view, 51. That's the new one right now. This M right here is what we actually need to look at. It means that it is a medium chirp transducer. And we'll talk about chirps later. We'll talk about what each one of them means. This is great for not super deep water and not super shallow water. So for most applications, medium chirp is fine. TM means that it is a Transmount transducer, okay? So we're going to change a couple things up real quick. So if you're in a place where maybe the G2 is pretty inclusive. It's going to do the coast for the US and Western Canada. And if you want to, then we can look at other settings. Let's go to the lake view real quick. So for us down here, we have a lot of folks in the Delta, okay? All right, now that's a really cool setup. Now the lake view is meant mostly for bass fishing. Now I want you to look at a couple things real quick. So we're at a CV52. Now we're also running an HW. This means that it is a high wide chirp. This is great for running at shallow water faster, and it is still a Transmount. So HW means high wide, and we'll go through all the different meanings for chirp. This is really good for a few things. We'll take a look at it real quick. And you can also decide if I don't want side view, I can go here, CV22, HW high wide, And then is included transducer? Yes. Now let's say I want to customize it. Let's say I want to run a 9-inch unit. I want to have it already pre-programmed with the 3, which is the Lakeview HD, but I don't want a transducer. Okay. All right. Now you can also add a blue chart to this, so you can have saltwater and freshwater. And for a lot of our customers, that's exactly what we do. Now let's choose from some of the different transducers. So let's come on down. We're going to go to accessories, and then we're going to come here to transducers. And you're going to notice it says transducer for Echo Map Plus, 7SV, and 9SV. Let's do it. Alright, so cool things. Now, let's take a look. We've got some pretty cool options, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the whiteboard real quick, and I'm going to try to help explain what exactly we are looking at, because there are cool options that we can go for. Okay, so let's try to understand some nomenclature. We're going to look at the GT51M series, okay? All right, so GT51 all right, GT51M T H. Let's do an H. All right, G is for Garmin. T, transducer. 51. Okay, this is going to mean that your clear view and your side view are going to run 500 watts. Now, what do your two teeth? Right. You know what? Do 2. We'll roll the dice. M means that it is a medium chirp. And finally, TM, or excuse me, TH, my bad, is through hull. Okay. So this is how we're going to break it down. So, Garmin transducer, 500 watts, medium chirp through hull. Now, if I look at this and I see instead, it's a GT51 THP, then it's a through hull pair. So this means that it is 2 transducers mounted into the boat. Okay. Now, if I come over here and I see instead that it is a Garmin GT51M TM, I know that it is a Transmount unit. Okay. Not too bad. Next, if I come up here and I see that it is an IH, this means that it is an in-hull unit. So, not too bad. So this is a basic breakdown of how to look at my Garmin transducers to figure out it's a Garmin, because they also use Airmar, so that's not a Garmin transducer, but it's compatible. 500 watts, medium chirp, whole 9 yards. So if I look over here and instead I were to see an L, this would mean that's a low chirp. Okay. If I saw an H, this means it's a high chirp. If this was HW, that would mean that's a high wide chirp. So let's talk about chirp. What's it mean? What chirp frequency is right for me? Will it help me fish better? Can I cast further? Will I get less tailing loops? Will occasionally my guide smile at me? Who knows? Anyway, point is, let's figure out what's the right one for the application for the waters you fish, what you're going to be fishing for. So, now, let's answer a very, very, very important question. What does chirp even mean? Good question. Chirp means very simple. Compressed, high intensity we're going to come over here. rapid pulse. Cool. Now, that sounds great, but what's it actually mean? No problem. So, let's take, for example, medium chirp. Now, what a chirp does is within a certain range, let's say it's a medium chirp, I am going to be able to broadcast out an infinite number of frequencies within a particular range. So a medium chirp is going to be between 260 to 455 kilohertz. Anywhere in this range from 261.0001 through here, as far out as you want to go, is the number of frequencies coming down. Certain fish and certain pieces of structure light up better underneath certain frequencies of sonar. So if you're trying to tune it in for just one particular item, it's really, really, really hard. But if I take it and I take all the number of frequencies inside that particular band, it means it is unbelievably effective. It gives me a much clearer image, and I can actually see what's down there much more effectively. The advantages of chirp bring forth things that are possible, such as clear view and side view. So, let's take a look. Now, let's take a look at which one is which. What do I need? So, let's say I'm fishing super deep. I'm fishing 1,000 foot plus. I'm going to need low chirp. And the reason is the lower the number of kilohertz, the deeper that it can penetrate into the water column. Okay? This isn't so great if I'm going to be in shallow water or if I'm running pretty quick. So a lot of times if we set these up in boats that are going to be fishing really far offshore, they're actually going to have two traditional chirp transducers. One's going to be a medium and one's going to be low, and they work together. All right, next. Medium chirp. We just went through this. This is a great all-rounder. So this is going to be this is really effective from like 10 feet through 600 feet of salt water. Now, if you're looking at freshwater, it's 800. And so I like to say down here we got a lot of silty water, we got a lot of sediment. You're pretty good right here. Now, next. And this is for a boat that's going to run probably in the mid-40s, low 50s, somewhere in there. Next, we're going to be running something like a bass boat. I'm not going to be in super deep water. I don't need to really be over like 200 feet of water. I'm going to run a high chirp. These sound waves are compressed super close. So this way, when I'm running at a high speed, I have a better chance of picking up and seeing what's down there. Makes things pretty nice. Now, if I'm in super shallow water, but I want to see more, I'm going to do a high wide. And what it does is it spreads that beam out. Instead of being down, it spreads the beam out, but it does a super high frequency. So I'm sending a lot of sound waves down in a really wide cone. This is really great for shallow water. Not so great for super deep water. It's still okay for your inshore stuff and your flats and the whole 9 yards. But if you're going to be kind of near shore fishing, if you're going to be 100 plus feet, probably not the best one for you. So keep that in mind. So here are your applications. So that's what we see when we see chirp. So I know what kind of chirp works for me to pick out the right kind of transducer. Okay, now that we've talked about the different kinds of chirps, let's take a look at which transducer. Now, first off, probably the most common is a Transmount transducer. So let's say this is the back of my boat. Okay, and the Transmount transducer is going to bolt on right here, stick out, and that's it. All right, cool. So it's attached to the back. Inside your Transmount transducer is a number of cool things. Let's say this is a breakdown of the transducer. Excuse my poor drawing. It looks like a hot fudge sundae ice cream bar. Anyway, let's break down the GT51, which is what we just looked at. I have 4 ceramic plates. One here, one here, one here, and one here. The Transmount transducer allows me to put all the different kinds of sonar I'm going to use into one unit. It's really compact, saves you a lot of money, and it's very, very clear. So in here, I'm going to have traditional sonar, clear view sonar, side view, and side view. And we'll go down and break down how that's going to work in a minute. But right now, just understand that with the Transmount transducer, I can put all my different forms of sonar in one transducer. And because it's directly in the water, there's no obstructions. In other words, I'm not trying to beam through a hull. Getting your transducer set up correctly as far as how deep it is or how high it is on the hull makes a huge difference as to how well it's going to work. So you really need to take some extra time, work through this, make sure it's right. You want the bottom line of that transducer to be just a tiny bit below the hull, just a little bit. So when you're up and running, you're on plane, you're not cavitating. Okay, so go through there, and just remember when you're up on plane, the boat's not going to be level; it's going to be a slight angle. So you do want to have your Transmount inducer up just a hair. So you see, it's just a little bit up, so it would be cocked up at an angle, just a little bit. And there's all kinds of neat YouTube videos and tutorials to show you how to set that up correctly. Now, let's look at the Transmount transducer and how each of the sonars work. So, from my Transmount transducer, we're going to look at it 2 ways. The first one is here. It's on the back of the boat. Let's see, this is my boat. Here's my transducer. My first beam from right here in that ceramic plate, which is traditional sonar, is beaming out a cone. Right in here. And in that cone that's beaming down, it's sending out those sound waves. And that's how that works. Beams it back up, receives it, computer tells you what you're looking at on 9 yards. Now, back here, I have my clear view. It's also beaming out a cone. Same deal. Now you're saying, oh my gosh, they're interlapping. No problem. They're 2 different frequencies of chirp. So I'm not worried about misinterpreting. Your sonar, your sonar unit inside your Garmin can easily distinguish between the 2 of them. Not a big deal at all. Next, side view. So let's look at it this way. So here's the back of my boat. Here's my motor. Here's the rest of the boat. And here is my transducer. Alright, so these 2 ceramics here and here are beaming down. Okay? Little snowman action. But this ceramic plate here and this ceramic plate here, get rid of my snowman, are beaming down and out. Okay? So let me eliminate on this real fast. They're beaming down and out. And this is not an exact representation, so bear with me. And so what's happening is when these are beaming down and out, what they're going to look like is when you look at your clear view sonar, the center part's black. And that's because this area right in here, it's not beaming down. It can't see anything. It's taken up by the clear view sonar or the traditional sonar. So essentially, there we go. So essentially, there's no gaps in what I'm reading out, okay? And you can actually use, depending on how they set it up, I can use on some transducer units, the 2 side view plates are angled down in such a way that when they beam down, they actually interlap. And when those two interlap, like so, when they interlap like so, this area down in here is interpreted by the sonar as the clear view. Side view, clear view. And in a minute, we're going to go over to the Garmin unit and look at what that's actually going to look like, okay? Now, what the side view is used for is I can see structure off to the side of me, and if I'm going over bait schools, I can actually see which side of the boat it was on. So, pretty cool stuff. We'll look at that in a minute. Now, that's how your transducer is set up, and I realized that could be kind of confusing, so I hope you guys understood. Just leave a comment in the comment section below if you have a question, and I'll be happy to answer them the best I can. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is an in-hull transducer. Now, in-hull transducer gets away from one of the big problems of a Transmount transducer, which is cavitation. In other words, I'm here at the back of the boat, my transducer is chilling out right back here, and then as I get going, I build up water pressure underneath it, and there's air mixed in with the water. And when that happens, I can't read. This is why if you eventually get going so fast with a Transmount transducer, no matter how well it's mounted, it won't read anymore. So a Transmount transducer is really good for a boat if it's set well to have a top speed of around 45, maybe 50. So I'll lose sounding at that point. So, better know where you're going. Next, the in-hull. Now the in-hull is pretty cool. What the in-hull does is, let's say this is the bilge of my boat. Alright, so here's the inside bilge of the boat. Alright, just bear with me. And inside the bilge, I'm going to glue down a puck and then put in my transducer inside the puck, close the puck up, and then fill it with marine safe antifreeze. And what happens is, as I'm going through, I don't have to cut any holes in my boat. Here's my puck, and inside here is my transducer, and it is steadily beaming down, giving me sonar. And at this point, I do not any longer have to worry about cavitation. I can go as fast as I want. This is great if you're a bass boat guy. You're going fast, money's on the line, got places to be. Perfect for a bass boat. In-hull might be the right setup for you. And a lot of times we may run an in-hull and Transmount combo, because we might run a traditional sonar here, and then on the back we'll put a Transmount transducer here that's doing clear view and side view. So it gives me all forms of sonar, and I don't lose sounding at speed. Downside, this is mostly made for shallower water applications. The advantage of this setup is I don't lose sounding at speed. I have all three forms of sonar, and it's really, really clean. And I'm not cutting a huge hole in my boat like I am a through-hull deucer. What's my downside? No, they're really only made for shallow water. Now, we have done some in some of our boats that are running deep transducers. They're running whole, full 1,000 watt transducers. They can go as deep and as far down as you want to, but in general, this is most effective in boats that are fiberglass and in shallow water. Now, what boats can I not use this in? No problem. I cannot use in-hull transducers in boats that are cored or in metal boats. So let me give you an example of a cored boat. So you got your fiberglass, and then in here you might have a layer of balsa, and then you have your fiberglass, and you have all your foam. A great example of a cored boat is Contender. Contender is a balsa cored boat. They're a hell of a boat, really fast. They're just wonderful. We used to carry them here. They're great boats. But an in-hull transducer will not work because it goes through different substrates as it goes down, and then at that point, you no longer read effectively. Other kind of boat. Now, you might be saying, hey dude, well, I've got an aluminum bass boat and I go really fast. maybe the in-hull deucer is right for me. Afraid not. Guys, your aluminum boats, in-hull is not going to beam through. Sorry. Now, we have one last kind of sonar that may be right for you. This is the through-hull. Now, the Transmount and the in-hull sonar that we talked about, you can do those yourself. You know, if you feel comfortable doing that, if you feel up to the task. We're a Garmin OEM certified installer here, so, you know, this is what we do, is we do Garmin. If you're not completely confident doing those, then you certainly do not want to do this one. In this one, we will be drilling a hole directly through the bottom of your boat. I know it's exciting, right? So, here's the back of my boat. I wish to add a transducer here. I'm going to cut a hole right here. And then I'm going to mount my transducer in that hole. The transducer covers the hole, fills it up, whole 9 yards, and it's caulked all the way around. Never going to leak. And generally, they're either made of stainless steel or brass. So they're extremely, extremely strong. This is mostly what we use for a lot of our offshore guys. They're going to run hard, they're going to run fast, and they're going to fish deep. I don't want to try to beam through fiberglass to get a really good sounding at deep waters. Instead, I'm going to beam this down. Okay? And later on, we'll get into videos on how to look at through-hull deucers to figure out which one's the right one for you. Okay? So this is really good if we're running fast, we're fishing deep. Okay? This is definitely one where you want a really great professional to get all this done. Now, can you use this on boats that are not just offshore boats? Because maybe I want to have unbelievably clear picture and unbelievably great sounding at any speed. Can I do this on other kinds of boats? Yes, I sure can. Can I take advantage of the clear view, side view, and the whole 9 yards, not just traditional? Yes, I can. And Garmin makes the different kinds of transducers for that. But once again, this is definitely one of those. I 1000% suggest getting your Garmin OEM certified installer, your Garmin guys, to put this in. They are a bit pricier. It does take longer to put in. If you're a really hardcore fisherman and you fish a lot of tournaments and money's on the line, this is the option to go with. Cool? So, that's what you can look at. Now, next one, through-hull pair. So, this is really good if I'm only sending down one form of sonar. And if I want to actually have multiple forms of sonar because my boat has a severe dead rise, I can't just mount it here to the bottom and it beam out. Because even if it's beaming out right here, my cone is going to come down and it's only going to be so effective to here. I can't beam it on out. So at this point, you'll have a second transducer that's going to come down. And remember how we talked about how those two sides are going to interlap and give me a super clear picture? That's what we're looking for here. This gives me clear view, side view, and traditional sonar in 2 transducers. And they've done a great job with that. They're really, really effective. Now, going from that, we have learned many things. Now, let me say this. If you guys are just looking at your typical Garmin and you're in the store or you're talking to your salesman or you want to order it online, 99% of the time, or maybe not 99, but certainly a great portion of the time, the transducer that comes with the unit, if you order it with a transducer, will do everything you want it to. Garmin takes a lot of time and research and figuring out the right transducer setup for you. So odds are you don't have to figure out any of this other stuff. That's going to be a little bit more effective if you're looking at a GPS map unit than if you are an Echo map. So things to consider, and you can pick out the right transducer if you want to go with something a little bit different. Maybe you have a different application. Like, let's say I want to do the Garmin 93 SV, and I'm not going to run a high wide because I run the Delta down here. I need those inland maps, and I can add a G2 chip to it so I can have offshore, inland, whole 9 yards. But I'm going to be fishing deeper water, so I really don't want the high wide. I'll get it without the transducer, and then pick the right transducer for me. And so that's a great way to go. So you do have a ton of options. Get with your local Garmin folks, tell them what you're needing, and they'll set you up with the right stuff. So real quick, we're going to walk over to one of these units, and we're going to look at how this actually looks like when we're using it. Okay guys, so we're on the home screen of a Garmin 93 SV. So you've got your charts, of course, right here. What we're going to look at now is we're going to look at the sonar. Now the sonar has the traditional sonar, the clear view sonar, and the side view. And I can do them in any combination I want. And I can also do a flasher. I am here to tell you I actually do not know how to read a flasher. There are guys that are extremely good at it. I used to fish with a kid I played football with. His dad could read a flasher like there's no tomorrow. I'm not that guy. So we're going to talk about instead traditional. Clear view and side view. So when we look at traditional, traditional shows us the bottom, and it's also going to be showing us bait. So you see these ellipses? They're called returns. These ellipses and returns in here are very often fish, which is pretty cool. The good thing about the traditional sonar, it does a pretty decent job of showing us the basic structure of the bottom, but mostly it does a great job of showing us fish in the area. Now, where's the downside of traditional? It's not great at showing me a really, really clear picture of the bottom. So let's go back. Now, I'm going to not so much be worried about schools of fish as so much as I am structure. From here, I'm going to run clear view. Now, when we look at the clear view, it tightened a lot of that up. And if you look at it closely, you can see that there is an abundance of different colors and different things that will kind of help you read it a little bit better. So, it may not show it very well on the phone, but I can see a lot more relief than just a blob coming up. And as you take time to learn how to read it correctly, I can actually see what's going on. Now, can I see fish? Yes, I can. Matter of fact, there is a school of fish right there. Now, here's one of the great things about the side view. What side of the boat's it on? I don't know. Let's find out. So, there's all that structure we saw. Now, when we look at this, imagine side view is like leaning down over the side of the boat and being able to look down with a pair of binoculars. This black area right in here is what's taken up by the clear view. We talked about that earlier. So imagine you've got a spotlight and you're shining it out. And my spotlight is beaming from here out to here. So when I'm reading it, I know that I'm currently marking from about 35, 40 feet out to 100 feet out. And so you see these black things right here? That's the shadow cast by the sonar. So again, remember it's like shining a Q-beam this way and a Q-beam this way. And so I can see, okay, this is a rock down here. This is a lot more like, I guess, leaning down and taking a picture of the bottom. Now, I can use all of these in conjunction to give me a real clear picture, because right here, what's directly under the boat? I have no idea. It's not what it's made for. It's made to see out. So let's take a look at them together. We're going to come to our sonar, and we're going to come to clear view and side view. So I see a school of fish right here, and now I'll mark that school of fish is right here. It is on the left-hand side of my boat. Judging from the distance, it was about 20 feet off. Not too bad. So I can see that. So I see there's a lot more structure, it's a lot more vivid, and then I can look down and I get a better feel of what's off to the sides. Now, can I use all three? Is there a particular reason or time that I want to use all three? The answer is yes. I want a better view of what all of my fish are. So I've got a lot of structure down here. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Now I see that is actually a tree fallen over. Okay, I can see some fish down here. I can see that they're on the left-hand side of the boat. And notice I'm not really seeing schools of bait, but I can see it on my traditional sonar. In big schools of fish, I will actually manage to see on my clear view. So by using all three together, think of this as my bait fish finder. This is my structure finder directly underneath the bottom. And this is my structure finder with also being able to see everything out to the side. And it helps me locate what side of the school bait fish roam. When I use all three of them together, it's an extremely effective way to locate and find fish and structure with your unit. This is definitely one of those things I suggest kind of driving around slowly, getting a feel for it, looking around. Now notice on my Chirp, I'm running a really high chirp on here so that it can read it all. So it's 455 kilohertz here, 455 kilohertz right here. My side view is also 455 kilohertz, and you'll be able to read it right there. It's Chirp 455 kilohertz, okay? But my traditional, because I'm wanting to see the bait schools and I want to be able to read a little bit deeper, is running 200 kilohertz. So that's how we look at it, that's how we read, and that's how we understand basically traditional clear view and side view sonar. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I know that was a lot to take in, a lot of things to go through, and I realize it was a longer video. I hope you found it helpful. I hope it wasn't too confusing, and hopefully we'll see you on the water. Oh, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments section. I don't mind answering them at all. And if you like what you saw, please hit the subscribe button, share with your friends, and we'll see you on the water.